Great. Okay. So special podcast today because we're on a Thursday, but special podcast, Thinkful podcast 3862. Welcome, Rachel. I don't think we've spoken on video chat or in 3 dimensions. We have spoken in the one dimension that is online chat and Slack. So hello. Thanks for joining us. I'm glad to be a guest on today's podcast, where you and Ben have really picked a topic that I think matters a great deal to the community and to the wider world. So without further ado, why don't you tell us about what we're here to discuss, Ben?
Yeah. So hi, Rachel. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining. If you don't already know Rachel Bird, she's one of our awesome mentors. Been with us for, are we at almost 2 months now?
Yeah.
Which is great. And every time I talk to her, I always love hearing about all the different organizations she's a part of and all of the things she's doing in her community. And actually, when I first interviewed her, she had met with 2 of our students for coffee before even being a mentor with us. If you don't know, she did lead the creation of our Women in Tech Slack channel, which has been really successful both in creating a space for people to share ideas and talk and meet one another, and also in pioneering our ability to create our POC in tech and our accessibility in tech channels, which make me really happy. Hello, two different angles.
Yeah, doing 2 angle on you.
Oh no! Oh no!
It's a podcast with 2 video cameras. It's like crazy.
Is that even a podcast? So I'm really excited to bring Rachel on today to talk about her experiences and some of the ways that she gets involved and some pro tips, because now she's a successful programmer. So how did you do it? So hi, Rachel. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks. So I was working as a developer before. I was a land developer, and that wasn't for me, but that's okay, because when I took that job, I was temporary, and I told them I wanted to become a developer, and I was teaching myself at home. But there was a point where I couldn't go farther on my own, and that's when I enlisted. And I did it, and I graduated after doing I think 3 projects, and then my capstone project. That was really, really hard at the time. And I applied to over 100 jobs before I got the one I'm in now, which actually was my only offer. So it was pretty tough until I found juniordevjobs.com. And once I started applying for junior dev jobs, then I was totally qualified for everything. So it was just a matter of time. It didn't take very long before one of those took.
It sounded like you learned a lot about the application process as you did it, which I think is a shared experience, even outside of programming. I remember when I was looking to leave Apple and find something, it took me forever to figure out how to find something, let alone something like Thinkful that I'm really happy at and is a good fit.
Yeah, it's its own skill set. And I mean, it's not like I did Block right out of college. I'd had a lot of jobs before then. So I'd been developing that skill over time, but it's kind of a different animal to apply for developer jobs. The interview process is very different because of the technical questions and stuff. So that, I mean, I should speak to my experience. I could be very dejected at times, but it's a learning experience. And every interview I could get, I would take it just to learn about what they're going to ask and what I needed to get more clear on for myself. Now there's resources like crazy to help you ace the whiteboarding interview and everything. But back then I was kind of flying solo, so I didn't know as much.
Yeah, thanks. Shout out to Gray and Liz right now for helping our students not have to figure all that out. Once you got into the world of programming, we've talked a little bit about this, but what sort of culture did you find?
I found a lot of nice people, and I don't think that's the going narrative necessarily, but everyone I talked to was pretty dang nice to me and very supportive, and they understood the situation I was in. And the first interview I had, and this was kind of interesting because I did the second half of my program abroad. I wanted to just sit somewhere quietly and finish my program, no distractions. So I lived in Crete for a winter and finished. And I thought, I want to keep traveling, so I'll apply to remote jobs. And my first interview was with an international company where everyone was in different countries. And I was interviewing with someone in South Africa who was oddly in my same time zone at the time. And he was actually looking for a senior developer, but he interviewed me and he asked me senior developer questions just because he didn't prepare to interview someone of my skill set. Now you went away. Uh-oh.
We're here.
Okay. So he told me he really liked me and he wanted to see if he could make a position for me, so hang tight. So my start to this process was amazing. I mean, it was just very, very positive. And it just kind of dwindled from there. Like, working with recruiters wasn't what I thought it would always be, because I just thought everyone would get back to me, but that wasn't necessarily the case. So it got kind of tough in there, but I'm really glad at how it turned out. I'm very happy right now.
And one thing that's so impressive about programmers, I think in general, is that they find time outside of work to really engage in like learning more programming and in their programming communities. And you're an exceptional example of that. And so I'd love to hear, like, you know, what communities are you most involved with right now, and what sort of work are you doing with them?
Yeah, so I live in Sacramento, and we have a Women Who Code group here, and I really like them, especially the organizer, Shruti. And I went to a meetup, and Shruti was saying, like, over pizza just to someone else that she was looking for someone to teach HTML and CSS. So I casually said, oh, I could teach that. And then I taught a 4-week course in HTML and CSS, and I found myself on Saturday afternoons putting together slides to make a really great program for these students. And day one, I didn't know who was going to show up, but I ended up teaching in this really nice room at BSP headquarters down the street from me, and the room was packed. And it was 2 hours, but it was so empowering, and it completely changed the way I thought about myself as a developer. I was like, I do know things. I didn't feel so green anymore. And I've been doing this on my own for a long, long time, just coding around on the web. But that, when I could teach people things and I knew it cold, and I saw that light in their eyes, like, oh, I get it, and now I have this skill. It was just awesome.
That's great. And then that was with Women Who Code. Did you meet them through like meetup.com? Like, how did you get in contact with them?
So I don't remember how I found them exactly. I do this thing when I move somewhere new, which I have done quite a few times. I go on Meetup and I see if there's any groups I want to join. So I think that's how I found them.
Are you the type of person who just like accepts all the groups in the area that meet your needs, or like do you have a strategy for finding useful ones?
Yeah, because I don't want to be driving around everywhere trying every meetup. I just sort of figure out, like, okay, I would like to meet people who do X, Y, Z, and then I'll just stick there. Because there's like infinite meetups.
Yeah. In New York, I was trying to find a book reading club for like, I think 3 years. I've still never found one that is reading what I want to read. So you go to this meetup, you overhear someone say HTML, CSS, you perk up. Next thing you know, you're teaching a course for 4 weeks on it to a bunch of strangers and succeeding. Did that get you ready for? I know later you spoke at FemTech at Berkeley. How did that like give you the confidence to look for opportunities like that?
Yeah. So actually, when I was teaching in that month of teaching for Women Who Code, I was just joining Latinas in STEM, and they had an email go out, because now I'm in, like, they have different groups within Latinas in STEM, so I'm in the career path for that, and they had an email go out to that small group that FemTech at Berkeley was looking for a developer to speak. And I don't know what possessed me, because it's not like I'm the most confident person in the world, but it definitely had to do with teaching for Women Who Code, because I was like, yeah, I'm legit, I'll do that. And then next thing I know, I'm going to Berkeley to talk to the students about being a developer.
That's awesome. Are you engaged with Latinas in STEM in other ways now?
Not as much as I'd like because there really aren't any around me. They kind of, I don't know too much about it, but I think they're more clustered in certain parts of the country.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's what I saw on their website when I was looking.
Yeah. So I think there is one member who lives near me, but it's kind of just tough to make that work. I did drive out to do something, but that drive to Silicon Valley is really rough from Sacramento.
So you gave a talk at Berkeley for them. What other groups are you involved in right now?
So I joined, well, there's this group called Girl Develop It, and they're a meetup. And they have, I think they're all over the country, but they're really active in San Francisco. So I went to San Francisco to do a React class with them. I wish I could do more with them because it's like every weekend they have really cool classes and stuff. But that was nice. It was just a day-long class, and I went with my friend that I met at Femtech. She was my contact at Femtech, who got me all set up to speak, and then we ended up hitting it off, and we went to this React class together. And it was great. Like, I was just working on a React app this week, and things I learned there really helped. And I met a really cool person there who is going to help me on the book I'm writing. She's willing to be one of my readers because I'm writing a book about being a woman in tech.
Oh, sweet. How long have you been working on that for?
Maybe 6 months. I'm really close to being done, and I finally visualized the ending, and I'm really excited about it. So I can't wait to get people reading it and giving me feedback.
Did you find you were naturally always this outgoing around networking and finding groups to go to in each new place? Or has that been a learning process for you?
Yeah, I think I've progressively gotten more outgoing over, yeah. And it might have been, I lived in a community where I worked and lived in the same community, and I think maybe that's when things started being easier for me.
When you stayed or when you left, or what?
Yeah, just like having to socialize that constantly, I think is when I kind of came out of my shell more.
Wasn't it one of your mentor that pushed you to go to a meetup in the first place, and you were like sort of hesitant to go to a networking event?
Yeah, I used to go to a couple meetups just to see, but I didn't really become a huge fan of them until he pushed me. And I went to a meetup. I was back in my hometown area at that time. So in San Luis Obispo, I went to one. And they're a great tech area. They have Cal Poly there and a lot going on. And I went to this meetup where people were just coding on a Saturday afternoon, I think it was. And I mentioned to the person running it, Matt, that I had just finished my boot camp and I wanted to work on my capstone project there. And he's like, yeah, cool. Ask me if you need anything. And then he found out I was looking for a job. And then he went out and tried to get me interviews and was just like my champion. I mean, it happened so quickly. Like, I just think there's a lot of support out there. You just have to go out and meet people.
So let's say you're working with some of our newer developers, our fledgling developers. What sort of advice do you have for them when they're going to these meetups and these hackathons and all these other communities and trying to navigate them in order to effectively network?
Well, I think staying positive is key. And like I went to Twitter headquarters recently and I was a little nervous and I didn't step into my usual confidence and bubbliness, but I think it would have been easy for me had I remembered just be nice, just reach out, find out about people, just be positive. But, sometimes I fail, and that was one of those times, but, I always pick myself up and try again. And that's really it. Like, I think everyone has something interesting they're doing, and I try to find out what that is when I meet them and then build on that and what we have in common.
That's awesome. Today I'm going to my first JavaScript conference called Brooklyn JavaScript. We're actually going with a student of K-Side's in the room. And I will try and remember to just figure out what is the most interesting thing these people are doing.
Yeah.
I want to talk about it. You're right. We also both, I think, sign up for like every newsletter. Like whenever I go to a website, I think the first thing I look for is, do they have a newsletter? because it's so valuable to keep up to date and just like find out about so many opportunities so easily.
Yeah, I definitely do that. I like knowing what's going on, so I read constantly. I spend like an hour or two every day reading articles that have to do with tech or like the emails that come in about tech. They have great curated newsletters. I think Founders Grid is the best one I've found just with like tech stuff, but Medium has some great stuff too. I read Medium every day. They have really good articles about women in tech and like a bunch of different tech categories. Actually, I follow UI UX, and Free Code Camp has a great Medium page that I read a lot.
What was that first one called? Foundry Grit?
I'll write it over here.
Awesome.
Founders Grid. That's a great curated newsletter for tech, but that's startup based. I still find it hugely interesting. They have really great articles, so you don't have to go out and look for yourself.
You mentioned Twitter, and I guess you went to the headquarters?
Yeah.
That's sweet. Did they have like all the nice bags, tables, and tennis things and food? Flying beds?
They have like a different swanky situation. I went to an event there for like diversity in tech. So they had, and it was for women. So they had a bunch of different women in tech groups there. And I went representing Latinas in STEM.
Oh, that's awesome. So you actually worked with them pretty recently. And I know you really want to discuss Twitter as a community.
Yeah.
So let's use that as a springboard. Why is Twitter so interesting to you?
So I started a Twitter account a while back called The Sport Bird, and it's a place where I just drop all my sports fandom junk. And through that, I started concentrating on tennis, and I grew this global tennis community. And it's now like this subset of Twitter. Like people in our group know, oh, we're in a group, but it's like it's not clearly defined, but somehow like I'll mention someone to someone, they're like, oh, I know them. So since I had all that going, I was like, I'm going to start a Twitter account about tech, and it's called Coding Lady. And I just follow people that I find entertaining in tech or people I want to connect with. And I have 2 women on there that are just like phenomenal support wise and friend wise. Like I can turn to them at any time. And I don't think I'd have these connections at all if it wasn't for Twitter. And people that I don't expect to respond do. People are supportive about posts, or like I connect with people about things that matter to me. It's a really nice boost to have that in my life.
I use Twitter only to find mentors now. I just recently got on Twitter and will like search different terms. So I definitely do encourage like having a Twitter account that shows you're actively thinking about stuff, because it's definitely something I'm looking at as someone thinking about sourcing. Yeah, it's like a nice quick way to start a conversation.
Yeah, it's not like on Facebook where it seems more permanent. Like my feed's just flowing, so it's okay if like I hit it quite a few times in a row because I'm thinking about something. Like the people I follow pretty much know what I'm up to, so they don't mind. And they're intrigued usually.
So what's coming up for you next, Rachel? Like what's your next sort of community-centric project?
So next Saturday, I'm planning on being a mentor at a hackathon in San Francisco. That's a day long, and it's for high school girls, and they're looking for mentors. So I thought, oh, that's a good way to stay involved, like face to face, but not have too big a commitment. So, and I don't really get to work with younger people in tech very often. So I think it'll be really interesting to see their approach. I mean, it's a different generation. So, I mean, I'm going to learn a lot from how they're using tech and what they're learning at school about it. I don't really have any contact with that anymore. I'm curious to see how they think about all this.
Yeah, what kind of is it like? You said it's like a coding cup. Is that like a hackathon, or
yeah,
what's the style of it? Okay.
Yeah, it's a day-long hackathon.
What's the prize?
I don't know, actually. I didn't look, but that's funny. Are you thinking about that thing I told you before?
Yeah, me and Rachel were talking about this hackathon that she was going to take a student to, but the prize money was like an iPod.
Phone.
It was like an iPhone. It was an iPhone, which at this point is an iPod.
That's not bad. Is that bad? Sounds good.
Okay.
Well, is it good?
I was so offended.
Oh.
I get emails with hackathons all the time, and they have these larger cash prizes. So since I'm so accustomed to seeing those, when I saw this prize, I was shocked. And
so like market for a hackathon is $25,000 or something, like something big?
I usually see it in the thousands for first place.
Wow.
We should really be enlisting our students in hackathons and getting some.
I know.
small
People win a hackathon. But they're great. You know, they're great places to learn new skills and build out your portfolio, meet new people. I mean, it's all positive. I just read a lot about the plight of women and minorities in tech, and I'm very attuned to it. So when I see something like that, I have this knee-jerk reaction to be upset because I don't understand why that was an all-women hackathon. So I put those things together. But other people may react completely differently, you know?
I think sometimes maybe it's if the more you know, right, you get a different perspective on it. But ultimately, I think it's, you know, we're running low on time now. I think it's just the push, right, to get into the community, to go to these hackathons and to go to these events and these meetup spaces is so important because like you said earlier, it adds to your resume if you've gone to a hackathon. Like that's really impressive, and it speaks to like your strength of character and sort of courageousness, and also like your interest and love for programming.
Yeah.
And then similarly using things like Twitter and using these meetups to like find opportunities to put your neck out there and try something different and new.
Yeah.
It's something that's really empowering and awesome to do, as we can tell from your experience, and super important, I think, for our students to be thinking about how are they getting out there and how are they making connections.
So what did we cover on that list? Hackathons in your local area, or if you're traveling, is a really, really good one.
Yeah.
The newsletters you covered. Founders Grid,
meetup.com.
Meetup for whenever you're in an area is obviously really powerful. Girl Develop It, and then Women Who Code.
Latinas in STEM.
Latinas in STEM.
There's so many organizations doing things like that. It's super awesome. It's also can be difficult, I think, to figure out which one might be for you.
Yeah, we've done great partnership. We're just seeing. We donated a large scholarship to 22 plus
2040
to Lesbians Who Tech is also a great group. Obviously it's a different group. And then Women Who Code, we have a scholarship with them as well. So there's been a lot of there's a lot of those efforts as well. Thinkful's pretty proud to be involved in.
Yeah.
Let's see. So what else? And what other groups did you come up with? You know, one of the things I'm surprised, like it strikes me as like you're very outgoing. And that outgoing nature just pays dividends over and over. Is there any, like, how do you get people to be comfortable with? Oh, Power to Fly is another great one here in New York. Rachel.
Love them, and you partner with them.
We've worked with them too. I went to high school with Catherine, who's the founder. It's like a small world kind of situation. But yeah, I just wonder what you would say to somebody who's not so naturally outgoing or is yet to be so naturally outgoing, like to get to sort of take those steps to be more involved.
Yeah, so I'm not, I don't like crowds, and I have anxiety in crowded areas that can lead to panic attacks, actually. So I just try to be, like I was saying earlier, just stay positive, keep trying. You know, it's like, there was this saying I heard about, like, the more you have more chance for serendipity, the more opportunities you take.
Favors the prepared.
I don't mind being uncomfortable. I think that's good. Like I use that as a teacher. So, I mean, I hate it, obviously, but I kind of seek out where there will be discomfort because I know there's something great on the other side of it, unless it's like, you know, really bad, obviously, but like something you can.
A challenge.
yeah, you can tell when, I could overcome this hurdle. I want what's on the other side of it. I'm just scared to go get it. Like, I take that as something good. Like, oh, good. Now I'm not going to be bored. My life is not going to be monotonous. I'm going to go tackle this. And I think that's one of the things about meetups and stuff. Like, yeah, I hate going to places alone where I don't know anybody, but I know, like, the more I try it, the more it leads to good things. So I'm going to just keep doing it.
That's awesome. We all have time?
We can keep going on if you have some more time. I think when do you suggest students start doing that? I mean, they enroll at Thinkful. It's a 6-month program or a 4-month program, depending on where they're going. Full-time reflects, and then we always encourage basically from like the end of the first month that they're starting to build that network out. We have a specific goal around going to your first meetup. Like, can that? This is almost a trick question. I mean, basically, we don't think you can start early enough. I wonder if you have any hesitation around that at all, or is that just completely obvious?
No, I think it's great to start as soon as you can, just going to events. I mean, you can build up to a higher level of involvement. You can sit in the back of the room at first, get the lay of the land, and see which groups you do want to become more involved in and progress at your own pace from there. But the sooner you get started, the better. I mean, the more people you know in tech, who you get along with, who you can help out and who want to help you out, it's just unbelievable. Like, when I started being a mentor at Thinkful, I already knew 2 of the mentors just because I've been out there trying to meet people, and it's so cool. I mean, one of them is also doing the prep course, and I really look up to her. So it's really cool knowing that if I need help here about the curriculum or anything, she's going to be there for me. And it's just through a network. And it's not that big a world. I mean, especially women in tech, it's funny how once you start meeting people, how many of us know each other. It's really cool.
Huh. Is that one of the big advantages of the Slack group we have here, or outside world? Or is that irrelevant, do you think? I mean, is it make it easier? Obviously, it just makes it easier to find people if it's a group for women in tech in your locality and wherever you are locally.
Yeah, that does make it easier. I've also, I mean, I found women just at large, just like on Twitter, meeting them there. Or another thing I do is that if I see someone interesting in an article or in a newsletter, I follow them on Twitter and I reach out to them pretty quick just to say, I'm so inspired what you're doing. And, it keeps that connection alive.
Yeah, that's so huge. Really in most fields, right? If you find someone whose work inspires you, reaching out to them to say thank you is such a great tool, both to thank them, right? And like build that sort of positive karma, and that, I hope everyone has an email folder of all the nice emails they've received.
I totally do.
And then also that person might reach back out to you and be like, that's awesome that you like my work. What are you up to? And all of a sudden you have a great new friend or someone who can give you advice, which is so invaluable.
It's funny you think of it as karma. I would have just called it's karma is a nice way to put it. It's almost like a relationship. I mean, it doesn't have to be a different part of the world comes back to you, but it's when you reach out to someone as a thanks without an ask, without wanting something in return, it's much easier to start a conversation. It shows that you're a human, which like in a job interview process or in any process of professional development is so easy to miss. The number of people we interview here that are putting on a facade, like that aren't comfortable in the room, is just so high, and it's very unfortunate. You want to like know that you can connect to this person and communicate, because that's the essence of working with them day to day.
Yeah, authenticity is key. And that's something about networking that I think can be missed. Like, I think the approach can be, let me manipulate people so I can get what I want. And I think it's better to just go in and be like, let me meet some really cool people and see what we can do for each other.
Yeah. People love to talk about things that they're excited about, right? That's just like human 101. So if you can ask somebody, what are you working on that's exciting right now, and get to know them better. I'll do some A and B testing today at the JavaScript conference and let everybody know how many phones I put my number into. That will be my goal.
Okay.
Just put your number in. Just don't give them a business card. Just take their phone and put in your number.
Who has business cards? Do you have business cards, Rachel?
Yeah, but they're for a glitter tattoo company I have.
A glitter tattoo company?
Yeah.
Oh, that's sick.
All right, sounds like a fun business card.
Sounds like our next podcast.
All right, well, this has been episode 3862 of the Thinkful podcast. I am your co-host, Daryl Silver, CEO and co-founder here at Thinkful. I'm here with Ben. Ben, what do you do?
I'm a mentor manager at Thinkful and also co-host.
And our special super host, what do you call the host above the host who's actually running things? Rachel, today, thanks for joining us. You can be found, what's your Slack handle here in the community?
Rachel-Bird.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ben, for the assist. We will see you next time. And
Thanks everyone for coming. Have a great rest of your day. Enjoy your weekend.
Bye.